So we're here to answer some questions that were given to us by, well, ones we get a lot of the time from our customers and people that are coming to town. So if you're thinking of buying real estate in Jackson Hole, there's probably a few questions that you already have. Is it too expensive? What is it like throughout all 4 seasons? Where do locals actually live? So we've compiled a list of items that we can go through and answer for you.
Today, Tim and I are going to go through some of the most common buyer questions and what people should understand before purchasing here in Jackson Hole. We've helped buyers throughout Jackson Hole and Teton County for decades. And this market is very, very different than most markets where people are coming from.
Totally. Okay, so some of the questions that we've gotten, we put some bullet points on here as to, some of the answers that we have is, okay, Kurt, why is Jackson Hole so expensive?
Supply.
Yeah.
It's a very limited supply. And that's the main reason things are expensive. You couple that with high demand, and prices are they're gonna stay elevated.
Yeah, and Jackson Hole is surrounded by national parks, mountains. The statistic that we've come to adopt and know that's true is 90% of this whole valley is under conservation or been set aside for preservation. So there's only 3% left that is actually developable. And of that 3%, 97% of that is also already either built on or preserved. So there's a very limited supply that people are actually able to acquire here if it's not existing specifically. And so, the law of supply and demand makes the price elasticity curve go up and up and up. High demand, low supply.
Yeah, and there's not unlimited room to build. There's a very, very finite amount of space that you can actually build on. And buyers aren't just buying a house, they're buying access to a lifestyle.
Totally. So Jackson Hole doesn't act like a typical subdivision or a city or something that you're going to move into. It's a place that, yeah, it's going to cost you a little bit more, but there's reasons for that. And that is the power of place, the beauty, the access to the outdoors, whether you're mountain biking, kayaking, skiing, all those different types of outdoor activities are paramount to our lifestyle here in Jackson Hole.
Question number 2, what surprises buyers once they start looking?
Key points. People are really surprised just how kind of compact the area is, but how the different areas feel. Meaning, like, if you're in Jackson, you're in a town, it bustles. Right now it's summertime and the streets are crazy and there's actually traffic. It's kind of crazy,
and no
right?
parking.
And so there's definitely a hustle and bustle with regards to the town of Jackson, but you also have all the amazing amenities, the restaurants, the entertainment, Snow King, and the concerts that happen up there. There was just a concert last weekend on the town square. So if you love that hustle bustle lifestyle, town of Jackson's great. But then you move out from the center of Jackson to East Jackson and down south a little bit, where it's a little quieter. There's neighborhoods, and so there's a much more neighborhood feel. Go out from that, you head out to Wilson. Wilson is an amazing community. I live there, love it out there. And it's halfway in between the town of Jackson and Teton Village. So you move out there, there's more luxury homes. It's a higher price point. There's the Snake River and all the access there up into Glory Bowl, and that's where the Snake River meets the Teton Range right at that point. So there's a lot of more homes, community in that area. Then you move out towards Teton Village, the ski resort, where that is certainly a resort community where summer and winter activities abound in that regard. So, and it seems like there are lots of permanent residents out there, but there is a lot of people coming out here for that resort lifestyle as well.
Yeah, and I would say, people are looking for walkability, i.e. town, ski access, i.e. Teton Village, acreage, where they might have horses or privacy or big views. And I think the real takeaway on that question is lifestyle fit matters as much as the property itself, if not more.
Absolutely. Yeah, when we first moved to town, we were coming out here to open up a brew pub with the current owners. And when we came into town, it was just the magnificence of the place was one thing. And then actually being one of those people that was making not much money and trying to make it work here, working 2 and 3 and however many jobs to make ends meet. That's something that might surprise people too, is the expense isn't low. The expense is actually pretty high, and you really you gotta want it to be able to live here within Jackson Hole. But where do locals actually live? That's a good segue into that.
We live everywhere.
Yeah, true.
We do live everywhere. I mean, from the town of Jackson to Wilson, south of town, north of town, Teton Village, surrounding communities, Victor, Driggs, Alpine, Star Valley. Locals live everywhere. And each area has different trade-offs, is what I would say, for a lot of different reasons. And that's where, when you come here and kind of feel how you're going to move through the community and how you want to live in the community, is where you'll define what area suits your needs. You can cross some off the list, you can add others to it, and that may change, over the tenure that you're here as well. It depends on what you need, what your priorities are.
Yeah, there's trade-offs, right? With every community, we talked about that, the Jackson area versus being over in the Victor and Driggs area versus being in Teton Village or Wilson or down in Alpine. All phenomenal areas, and that we represent and show our buyers to in 5 different counties. We represent Teton County, Wyoming, Lincoln County, Wyoming, Sublette County, Wyoming, Fremont County, Wyoming, and then Teton County, Idaho. So all those different counties have very different feels. And we're kind of focusing in and around the Jackson Hole area today with the communities that surround us. Each and every one, they all have their trade-offs. The hustle and bustle of Jackson versus being over in the Idaho side, which is phenomenal, a little slower paced, a little more rural community, and then up in Du Bois, where it's a little more cowboy and you're a little more remote, and then being down in Alpine, which is another great community that's growing, and you have the Salt River, the Grays River, and the Snake runs right through there. So there's so many things in the Palisades Reservoir. So it really, depends on what you're looking for in lifestyle as well as expense.
So I would say where someone lives, it usually depends on lifestyle, budget, what sort of commute is tolerable to them, and what their priorities in life are.
Yeah, and that fits into question number 4. Should buyers look in Wyoming or Idaho? And like most answers, it depends, right?
Yeah, there's pluses and minuses. There's mostly pluses to both areas, and it just depends on how your checklist matches up with those pluses. The big one is Wyoming has no state income tax. That's probably the biggest difference. Then it's commutes and travel time and activities and things like that. What fits your checklist?
Yeah, and Idaho might be more in your bailiwick because of pricing, because maybe you want more land. Maybe it's, the not wanting to be in the hustle and bustle of Jackson, but being somewhere that is family oriented or has access to the Grand Targhee Wilderness and things like that. So again, we highly recommend coming out, driving these communities, coming through a tour with us to be able to really give you a focused idea of what each small part and communities offer throughout the different valleys.
And the takeaway would be, I don't think it's Wyoming versus Idaho, but just what fits your check boxes. It's not just a price decision, it's a lifestyle and it's a strategy decision moving forward.
Yeah, and all right, so then another question that we get is, tell us about the short-term rental ability and availability within all these areas.
So there's resort zoned overlays, which is like Teton Village, Aspens, Snow King area, and then south at the Sporting Club, where you can actually do short-term, nightly, weekly, monthly, unlimited rentals. The rest of Teton County, Wyoming, has a 30-day maximum. So you can only rent it once every 30 days. You could bookend those rentals. So you could say you could rent Christmas to December 31st, then you could rent January 1st through January 10th, but then you can't rent it the rest of January. So there's some nuances to the rental, the 30-day rental.
Yeah, so the zoning and permitting and HOAs.
And HOAs
Those
have a
matter.
big matter in that as well, because some HOAs are a lot more restrictive, going to once every 90 days. It could be all 90 days, or it could be one day within that 90 days.
Yeah, and back to the short-term rentals in those resort zone districts, we have a lot of buyers that come in and love the area, but they're only going to be here for 1, 2 seasons, maybe 2 or 3 months, whatever they decide. And so a really smart move, oftentimes, if you're in that category, is to buy a place within one of the resort districts so that then you can either recoup the income from rentals or at least defer some of that, right?
Yeah. It's a good way to defer the cost of the carrying costs and the cost of ownership and having a place here. Especially if it's sitting empty for months out of the year. You can always try and generate some income from that.
So what should buyers focus on first?
I think you need to experience the neighborhoods, drive around, get to know the area. I think that's the most important thing, how your lifestyle and your desires and your checklists fit into the different areas. Because you could have 2 neighborhoods right next to each other that feel very, very different. There's tons of examples of that, where you've got one neighborhood feels a certain way and another one feels a different way.
Absolutely.
And explore them and spend time in them and try and find out which one hits your checklist.
Yeah, and schools here are phenomenal. And so then there's a lot of different options there as well, whether it's public school, there's a number of private schools. There's lots of options there if you want to be in close proximity to the schools or not. And then also think about how it fits again into your lifestyle. Is it okay? And do I feel fine with driving 30 minutes from Alpine or from Victor and Driggs area? Or do I need to be within the Jacksonville area? So really figure out the focus of what your lifestyle looks like and how you're going to be a part of that, whether it's through your commute or otherwise.
Yeah. And I think the question is, how do you want to live here? How do you personally or your family want to live in this community?
Right. And, we've talked a little bit about people coming to the community. We're huge advocates of not just moving here and absorbing everything that this area has to offer, but squeeze the sponge and give a little back of what you've got. So if you have skills in accounting and CPA, you can help out with people that might not be able to afford so. If you're interested in the environment, there's so many nonprofits, and so we partner with the Community Foundation in a lot of ways and the hundreds of nonprofits that are here. And so we highly encourage participation if you're here. And if you can't participate, write a check to the Community Foundation, because then they are able to distribute funds to other nonprofits that then help allow the community to do great things. I mean, one of our clients is Santa on the Square. So, there's great things that you can do to be able to contribute and give back to the community, which we highly encourage, and we can direct you in that regard as well.
So I would say if you're considering moving here, start asking questions. Talk to us and tell us what matters to you, and like I said, how you want to live here and what kind of lifestyle you're looking for.
Yeah, it's not just a house. It's a lifestyle, and it's a way of living that actually changes you as a person, but also as a community member. So we highly encourage people to participate, enjoy the area, love your house, and love the community that you live in. So if you have more questions, if there's things that we didn't answer here, which obviously there's a lot of questions that we didn't answer here, leave some comments below. Give us a follow, or just give us some inquiries as to what we can answer for you.
Or reach out directly to either Tim or I anytime.
You bet.